Vehicle searches. And now, as you can see, they're over there. Why are we doing it? Okay, we're looking for evidence, and we want to document what we do for the search of the vehicle. Okay, you're going to conduct a search, you're going to document with photographs, and you can do all your paperwork, and you can do sketches. And think about what's important in that car. If there was a kidnapping going on, are you going to just open that vehicle, get in there, and start searching like crazy? No. What are you going to think about when you open that vehicle? Trace evidence, and what other kind of evidence too? DNA and fingerprints. So we have to take precautions when we do that, because once you put yourself in there without having protective clothing on, remember we just talked about in the trace lecture, what are you doing? You're contaminating the scene because you're bringing in your environment. So we don't want to do that. Okay? And also, consider the use of using super glue. Remember you talked about in your Leighton lecture about super gluing the whole vehicle? Once we do the whole entire vehicle, what about that vehicle? Can we give it back to anybody? No. It's pretty much done. But what can we do if we don't want to super glue the whole vehicle? You guys remember what you used out there? The wand? You can just do sections of the vehicle. Okay? And what sections you probably want to do would be what? The handles, right? The lap belt, right? The mirrors, right? The steering wheel, where the radio is, the console, places like where you think people would have touched, you know, and left prints behind. So you can do that. We actually did a search where we did the entire wand on different areas. We weren't getting anything. And underneath the steering wheel, there was one part of it which was not coated with that new material that's on the steering wheels. And we got a partial print that actually ID'd the guy. So don't think that you can't get it. I would just try it, you know, and see what happens. Okay, and then, of course, if we need to have other specialists out there because it's been a car bombing or something like that, then we would have somebody maybe who, from the manufacturer of the vehicle, come out who would know how to put that vehicle back together again. Okay, that's just something to think about. Okay, again, preparation. Today, you're going to work in a team concept, okay? So basically, everybody is going to photograph today. What we're going to have you do is take overalls. In your overalls, you have to place that vehicle inside the scene. So what are you going to take pictures of in your overalls? What are you looking for? Identifier, excellent, identifier. That's what you're looking for. So if there's a street sign or a building or a number, make sure in your overalls you all capture that, okay? And every one of you will do that. Then when you're broken down to your teams, you guys decide who's going to be the team leader, the photographer, who's going to sketch, you know, and who's going to search and all that. Remember, all your paperwork is going to be done on the ERT database. And the reason we're just doing that is getting you prepared for what's going to happen on Friday, okay? And we'll select the team leaders on Friday. And again, you want to make sure that you follow what we've learned so far. So far that if your team decides you're the team leader today, you want to make sure you're going to secure and protect the scene, right? So what do you think you may want to put up? Some tape, right? Okay. And also you're going to do the initial date, the preliminary survey. Okay, if you're going to do that too, then who you want to take with you? Your photographer, okay? Maybe walking around the car, start taking pictures of the vehicle. And that's what we're going to go to today through that. Okay, some basic photography, 360 manner. And why do we do a 360 manner? What we're trying to accomplish by doing that? Yeah, you want to get everything right, the whole entire vehicle, because there's a lot of things that go in the vehicle. And you know, Stacy brought up a good point. If you talk about dents or scratches, then you're going to want to go in and do a close-up of those or paint transfers, because that may be important down the road, okay, to look for other things. Okay, you want to show you the identifying marks, right? We've got to do the VIN number. Where is the VIN number located? Where else? Where?
Most of the body parts anymore.
Huh?
Most of the body parts.
Right. But I mean, you know, on the door, the side of the door, you'll see it, and on the engine block. Those are probably the easiest ways to find it. It is very difficult to photograph the VIN number through the glass of the windshield, okay? And today you're going to try anyway, okay? And we're going to see some different techniques, because what are you going to do with that flash? Is it going to be directly on that? No, okay. So, right, exactly. And any damaging or anything like that. Location of the seat and location of the pedals. Why do we care about how the seat's located? What's that going to tell us? Right, exactly. It's going to tell us, you know, how some people have long legs and a short torso, you know, but that could help us identify those people. So we'll think about that. And this is just photographing a vehicle in 360 degrees. Basically, you're trying to get every angle the vehicle is, okay, and trying to place it in its location. Again, you're going to do your overalls, okay? So you're going to do your overalls first of all of the location. So do that first. Once you do that, you're going to do the overall of the vehicle and the overall of the interior of the vehicle. Okay, now you're looking in there and you're ready to do some searching. And you're seeing some evidence in there, okay? What are you going to do now? You're going to take your medium shots of that in place, right? Okay, so you think about that. And then you're going to do your close-up and the evidence in place and close-up with a scale, without a scale. Now, what happens if you can't get that scale in there because there's a piece of evidence that's hidden under something and you really can't get the scale in there? You can get a close-up from where you are, but not enough to get the whole picture of what that item is. At that time, and at that time only, can you take that out, what I would put down is some brown paper, and put it down the brown paper and put the scale to? Because what have you already captured that to be in place? You captured it in your medium shots where it was in place, and you also captured it with, you know, your close-up as well as you could get it. Because the scale has to be, it has to be perpendicular to the item, so it has to be down there. You can't be taking it with the scale hanging up like this, you know, or somebody holding it at an angle, because they're not going to really get a true measurement of what that item is. All right, so try to get it as best as possible. And we'll talk about placing your evidence item numbers in and things like that as we go through this. Okay, here we've taken some information here. Okay, here there was, you know, taking position of what the pedal looked like. And why do we do the tire treads? What do we care about the tires? Why are we doing that? That's right, want to match where they're going, right? I mean, there was a case, it was Bobby Joe Long, I think that case back in, I think it was out of Georgia. And he was a serial rapist that happened back in the 80s. And he had 4 different tires on his car, and 2 of the tires were inverted. Okay? And they kept finding these weird tracks at all the seams. Okay? So that's a good identifier to do that. And today, because of ground, if it's hot or something, I don't know where we're going to be located, but at least do 1 photo of a tire tread today, okay? At least 1. With the close-up with the scale, too. Okay, here's your overall. Here's your front view. What do we have in that front view? Yeah, we've got the license plate, okay? Now you're going to want to write on your paperwork the license plate, right, and the VIN number. That has to go in your paperwork when you do a vehicle search. You need to have both of those items on there. Okay, here's the driver's side, okay, view. And this is just the overall of the vehicle. Remember, the first photos you're going to take is the overall of what? The location, okay? Again, the rear view. Some states have 2 license plates, some states don't. So that's also something you want to, you know, make sure you document. Okay, the passenger side view, the driver's side front interior view. Okay, he's opened a door, and then it's taken a photo. Okay, all you're doing at this point is still your overalls. Now he does the back. But the only thing that's wrong here is that he has this door still open. When you open a door to a vehicle, and once you take your overalls, you shut that door because you could lose potential trace evidence out of there. Okay, so you don't want to leave all the 4 doors open and the trunk open and everything open. Okay, so you want to make sure. Now right here we're saying, oh, this could be potential evidence in here. Okay, do the trunk, right? Also hidden areas in the trunk. You want to make sure you just do both sides of the vehicle. And again, one of those doors should be shut. Again, look inside here. This is a lot of times people forget about this. Unless they see some paper sticking up, they forget about it. What else is important in here, right? Glove box, right? There's always something in the glove box. Okay, here's a close-up of the VIN number. Okay, here's a direct flash. Can you read it? No. So take it off. And here's a close-up of the odometer reading. You know, why do we want to do the odometer reading? What's important about that? It's going to give us the mileage of the vehicle. If someone told you they only traveled 2 miles and you find the car 30 miles away, I mean, there's a way of finding out about how far they traveled. Off-camera flash. And that's, I don't know how we did that. Oh, that was on, without a flash, I think, on flash. Okay, and that's on the camera flash. So as you can see, you're going to have to take, whoever's going to be the photographer, you're going to have to take the flash off the camera, okay? Because otherwise, this is what you're going to see. Okay, medium range is when you start getting everything in place. Now, if we're not thinking about doing trace or anything like that at this point, I probably would be putting down your ID cards, okay? Number 1, number 2, number 3 for your items, okay? Because then I would like to get a picture of all of that with an ID number, Here's a close-up in place. Now still, you see that. If you saw an item like that, what would you do? Yeah, I get out of there and go like about 100 feet away and call for help, right? I mean, you're going to see something kind of funky when you open up that. I mean, you saw the wires right away. You're not going to be taking, your pictures. You're going to get everybody out of there. Nobody's life is going to be worth getting hurt over something like this. So we don't care about this. You're going to get out. And there, it's under seats. I'm glad I didn't search this car. But do check under seats. A lot of people forget to do that, checking under a seat. There are things, people drop all sorts of things. That's why you have to wear gloves, because you don't know what's under those seats. Okay, again, the tire tread pattern, if you can take one with and one without the scale, that's what we like to see accomplished today, at least one tire taken, so you get used to doing that. Okay, now we're going to process the vehicles, and we talked about into zones or quadrants, okay? And the reason we do this is because we want to make sure that we say wherever we take the evidence from is from which side we take it. So if I find evidence on the floor of the driver's side front, I'm going to say it came from the driver's side front, and the passenger side front, and the rear, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But what else helps with this is if you're going to do trace evidence, and you're all in your Tyvek suits to go in there, and you're vacuuming, the driver's side, you want to call it the same thing as what, everybody's searching. So you want to kind of stay on the same page with that. So the driver's side front, if you're doing the vacuums, you'll have to, do that. But let me tell you about those filters. Again, they don't hold that much. And you'll use one for the entire floor, then one for the entire seat, and one for the entire dash. So you're going to use like 3 filters almost per, location. Okay, and here's an example of a sketch. Okay, what happened here is that, as you can see, it's all broken down, all right, the vehicle. It's kind of like almost a bird's eye view of this. But the only thing about this sketch is, as you can see, all the measurements were put in there. Usually we don't put measurements inside the sketch like that, or we don't measure the items of evidence inside a vehicle. The only time that we do that if the case agent needs to place a certain item at a certain location inside the car, okay? Because what happens when you're driving a vehicle anyway? Things always shift and move around. So really, if they need something for some reason placed at a certain spot because they got information that that's where it was, then you can do those measurements. Otherwise, we don't do these kind of measurements, okay? So the sketch person today, has it kind of easy. But if you had found shell casings out around the car, then you are going to have to measure that to the car itself, okay? All right, now, this is where they found the car. What did they do here? Can anybody tell what they did? Triangulation, because why are they doing that? Where are they showing by doing that? Where it was parked, right? What if it came in and all of this was repaved again, okay? They're showing where this vehicle was to a couple of fixed points, okay? And they actually did the fence posts. This is actually at Hogan's Alley, if you guys see this familiar. So that's what they did. Now look at all the information they have written on here. This has to be on your sketch. The VIN number, the make, the model, the mileage, if you can see the mileage. If you have the keys, sometimes you don't have the keys and you can't find out what the mileage is. The year and what the vehicle is. Be as descriptive as possible on your sketch of what this vehicle is. The VIN number, etc., and things like that. Again, the drawing will be not to scale. Again, what's in there? North. There you go, right? And if you do the triangulation to show where it's located, then put those points on there. All right? We'll have graph paper out there for you. You can use as many sheets as you want. Right? It's pretty self-explanatory anyway. Okay, hair and fiber evidence. You'll be doing this today also. Okay, and again, we know about from the lecture that it can place the suspect at the location, it can place the victim at the location, it can identify a hit-and-run vehicle also. You just have to just think about what you're doing with this car. I mean, is it important to, I mean, some agents are, want a vehicle search, only looking for documents. They don't really care about who was in the vehicle. They're just looking for a specific document. So you don't have to go extra and do the vacuuming and the lint and everything. Other times, they want to place somebody in there, or they're looking for hairs because it's been a kidnapping, or maybe they believe that the victim was in the vehicle at one point. So that's when we're going to take the extra care to make sure we do it right. And be aware of, right, if you open it up. There was a rape case on the reservation, and they had one door open, and somebody else opened the other door, and the tissue that was in the car, guess where it went? Nice little wing came through, and they're chasing it down. They didn't even started pictures yet. Okay? How can they say that that tissue was in the vehicle? They had to write it up, but they couldn't show a picture of it being inside there. Okay? That tissue actually, it was positive for semen too. So, I mean, these things happen. It's not like nobody's perfect and we all make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. Again, collecting the visible items at first, you want to make sure you do that first. Okay? You don't want to do a crazy search and then, have everything all over the place. Whatever you see out there in plain view that you can get at to, just collect it, get it out, go back in, and you want to do some more searching. Wear Tyvek to prevent contamination. So decide amongst your team, what do you want to do first? You want to go in there first, and you want to photograph, you do your medium shots of everything inside, and then at that time I say to somebody, hey, let's do some trace evidence. Let's get in there and do the vacuuming now, so none of us will put anything inside there. You can decide that. You may decide you want to do the ALS first before you start collecting any evidence too. So you think about what you want to do. You all have to try to use the ALS today too, okay? So you'll do vacuuming and the ALS. Okay, the forensic vacuum, as you saw, we have those. So we'll be using those today. Lint roller, fingerprint tape, alternate light source, and collect the control samples. What do you think they mean by control samples? What if you're vacuuming the carpet inside the vehicle? What do you think you want to cut out? A piece of that, right? That will help them with the, later on down the road, that will help with the identifications, okay? Remember, you can send as many question items as you want into the lab, but until you send them a known, it's going to just sit there as a question item. They may give you some type of lead, give you a little bit of information on it and say, hey, it contained these fibers, and maybe, you're looking for a pair of brown work gloves. Well, can you put that brown work gloves inside your search warrant and look for that? Yeah, sure, that helps. But once you get those brown gloves, you got to send them to the lab to make sure that they can compare them. All right? If you do manual collection, it says use your fingers. I don't think using your fingers is good because things always fall off. The disposable tweezers you used the other day are good. Make sure you don't crush the hair shaft. And package in the drug is fold. If you have the coin envelopes, you can put them in there. If you have the little pill boxes, you can put them in there. Okay? So whatever you guys want to use. And the tape lifts, again, you're going to put it on a piece of plastic if you do tape lifts. I suggest you guys just try, just different techniques to see what works better for you. Some people love doing the tape lifts. The lab doesn't like it because they get too many of them. It's easier for them to have just the filters. That's the number one way they want it done. Then it's the tape lift, and the last is the lint roller. Okay, again, 1 canister per zone. And like I said, if it's a really dirty car, that once you do the floor, it's gone. Now, what's wrong with this picture here? Right, doors are open, and what else? He really should not be wearing just a baseball. Right, he should really have his hoe head covered, okay? You got to wear the hoe hood things, okay? You have to do that. You have to keep any possibility that anything from his hat has fibers. Anything that he hits against in that car when he gets in, he may transfer. All right, so we don't want to put any unknowns in there from us. We want to try to keep it clean. This is what the vacuum looks like, and we always have it overheat too, and you would just have to let it cool down. I know Gary was saying because people were pressing too hard on it. I think that's because we were just in the heat all the time that it just would overheat on us. And again, you want to avoid sitting in the vehicle prior to the vacuum. So you don't want people going in and saying, hey, look, evidence, and getting in the car and sitting down. Okay, now you're transferring your stuff into there, your environment. So, and that's just showing different ways to do. What people miss the most is the what's this called? The headliner. Right. People miss doing that. And that's how many times have people hit their heads on that, or gone into the car and come back up again, and maybe have brushed their hair against there. It's a great area to do, and especially too for looking for blood. All right, if you guys know that there's been a scene, when there's possible blood in there, then I would look up there too. That's a great place for it, to look for it. Okay, and this person didn't want their face in the picture, so here he is vacuuming the top part of it. Okay, sign and date the vacuum canisters. We talked about that. Just where it says that evidence tape around there already, you just sign that. What they do at the lab, they actually just cut that open, that seal, and they break it open. Still, that has to go in the plastic bag and still has to get sealed by us and all that. So, but you still want to sign and date your canister. Okay, now you found some evidence. Okay, you did some vacuuming on some things, and you found some evidence in plain view which you needed to collect. So I would have my Tyvek suit on. I've taken my pictures, and whoops. And now, what's under here? Can you really see it? No, you don't. I mean, you can get some good photos maybe of it, but you're going to need to, after you get this in, this is the medium shot of everything, you're going to have to get in there and take that out to get a close-up with and without the scale, okay? But you've already shown where it is in place, so at that point, you can move it. All right, if it's possible to get it a close-up in place, that's the first thing you always go for. But a lot of times it's not going to be possible. And the Dunkin' Donut bag, there you go. Which I thought there'd be a Dunkin' Donuts here, but there's not, only Starbucks. Okay, here's a person doing the sketch. He gets to sit down. So somebody may want to do that today. I don't think there's any seats out there, sorry. Okay, here's a guy photographing everything inside there. Okay, what do you see is going on here? Say they already did their trace, but what else is wrong? What's he not wearing? Gloves, right? You know, I know it's hard when you photograph to wear gloves, but if this was a picture that was taken and the media was out there, they don't care how good of a job you did. They're going to say that you weren't wearing gloves. So try to wear gloves today if you can. Okay, and here they go. Somebody's doing the log, so you're going to have someone doing that today. Yeah. Okay, and then people get in the bags ahead of time. I mean, it's not hard to have somebody be your evidence person to start writing out what the items are. They're going to read it off the evidence log. They can start getting the bags and the containers ready for you. So you know, you guys work as a team and see how how you want to do it. And now, using the ultralights, and we have these little tarps for you. You have to have the car completely dark when you do this today, okay? And we have all the shading you're going to need to do that. You're going to need a couple of people to get it set up, okay? And then one person's going to go in there, and you know, take turns. You know, everybody should try it. You know, practice with it. You're going to use the big machines today, okay? That's got more power to it. And you're going to put it on crime scene scope, the CSS. That's the light you're going to use. And you're going to wear your orange goggles.